Vandiazzo, back again with another card fight Vanguard deck profile. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and join to the Patreon. Let's get this one started. Today we are doing Dragon Empire, my Eugene deck profile post set 2. So I have, at the start of Overdress, I didn't know what deck I wanted. I didn't like Bastion because I don't know why I didn't like Bastion. I think it was just mainly the grade 3 thing. I thought I would like Bruce. Bruce just wasn't my style. Magnolia I thought I would never like, and I like it, but I don't want to build it because I just hate the way Magnolia looks for some reason, and the DSR makes it worse. And Seraph Snow, not my style at all. And then same with Orphist, same with Hex Orb, same with, what were the other decks that came up? Crap. Same with Zorga. Zorga seemed interesting, but it just didn't look right to me. And what was the other one? And Barrow Magnus. Neither did Barrow Magnus. So which left Dragon Empire with Nirvana and Eugene. I didn't want to use Nirvana because I just thought Nirvana wouldn't be interesting, and yet here we are like a month later, or 2 months, or a few months later, and I'm maining Nirvana now. And Eugene was the deck I thought I was going to main, but I just slowly drifted apart from it. So let's go ahead and get this started. First up, we have Double Gun of Duststorm Bart. 6k base, 5k shield, grade 0 with boost. Auto and Rotopon, if you win second, you get to draw a card. Standard starter that everything has. Unfortunately, Eugene is not a main character deck, so it doesn't have like the arts connection with its ride line, which is unfortunate, but you know, it's still cool. I like the theme that they're all humans. I also like Bart because he has 2 pistols, and I am a person who loves dual pistols. If you know me, my favorite weapons of choice in a video game are either dual pistols, dual swords, or a rapier, or just a singular sword. I don't really care as long as it's one of those, and it's just my style, and I really like this. And that's partially why I wanted Eugene in the first place, because he kind of fit my style of guns. Next up, we have our trigger lineup. For our over trigger, we have Dragon Deity, King of Resurgence, Dragveta. Not even sure if I said that right. 5k power, 50,000 shield, grade 0 with boost. Over trigger, you may only have one over trigger in the deck. When it's revealed as a trigger, regardless of whose turn it is, remove it from game, draw a card, and choose one of your units as it gets plus 1 million for the turn. And it's revealed during a drive check, activates additional effect as well. And the additional effect for this one is choose one of your vanguards and stand it. So it gives you the ability to have extra drive checks, increase your hand. I don't like this in Eugene particularly. I like the Spiritual King of Determination because like it gives more power to the rear guards and kind of guarantees the rear guards are going to hit while they're probably going to guard the vanguard. I mean, with Tribash, that is a different story depending on where Tribash ends up. But this over trigger still works if you're like spamming out the Tribash as much as physically possible. In my build, I've experienced both of the situations where they can be used differently. It depends on how you play your deck. When I first played Eugene, I was the type of person that would use Eugene's effect every turn I got the chance. If I had 5 soul, I'm going to use the effect. I don't care if it's not worth it. That's how I played, and I won a decent amount of games from that, and I lost most of them. But the fact that I won any is still a surprise to me. So it depends on how you play the deck. It was in my opinion, from playing that way, it was very fun. It made my turns kind of unpredictable. I decked out by the 4th turn, if not the 3rd turn. So yeah, take that with a grain of salt as you will. But if you're playing that style, go with Spiritual King because it helps you advance the board quicker and kill them faster while you're currently killing yourself. While Dragveta is for the, I guess, non-aggressive play. I don't know how to pin that Eugene deck down. I'm just gonna say it was the aggressive version of it. Next up, we have 3 copies of Rushing Dragon Steel Defalo, draw trigger, 5k power, 5k shield, grade 1, grade 0, with boost. Just standard draw trigger. When you reveal it, you draw a card and give something plus 10. Nothing special about it. I do suggest just running draw triggers in general in Eugene because regardless if you're playing the aggressive build or not, if you run out of soul, you're going to need hand cards to replenish your field. That's pretty much where you get this stuff from, especially because your opponent might try to kill your rear guards. Next up, we have Blaze Maiden Parama, 4k power, 15k shield, grade 0 with boost, front trigger. It gives plus 10 to the whole front row, continuous guard circle. If your opponent's vanguard's grade 3 or greater, it gets plus 5k shield. So 20k shield, that's really good. I was debating whether I should put this in here or not because it's a part of the Blaze Maiden archetype, which is normally meant to support Nirvana, but I decided to do it anyways because it's a human and so is Eugene, so I decided to make the exception for once. Then we got 4 crits and Conduct Spark Dragon and 4 heals and White Light Dragon Parasolus. Nothing special about the trigger lineup. Let's go on to the main deck. First up, 3 copies of Stealth Fiend Shigama Mango. 8k base, 5k shield, grade 1 with boost. I really like the ice. I'm a sucker for like ice and fire background, so when I see this thing in a Dragon Empire deck, I just love it. Anyways, auto rear. When your opponent's rear guards retire during the main phase, retire this unit, look at top card. You may call it if it's a unit card to the rear guard, and if you don't, you put it into soul. So you don't have to call it even if it is a unit card, but either way, it's a way to get free soul charges or a way to get another rear guard to replace this unit. Normally, you would use Eugene's ability to rest this, kill a rear guard, plus 10, use its skill, kill itself, look at top card, call it. It's like this card was kind of made for the Eugene deck. Now, if this thing and one of the other cards said you're allowed to retire during the battle phase, oh, for the love of God, there is a deck I would love to try with that, but it doesn't say that. Now, if it did say that, I'm pretty sure that the deck would become very broken very quickly, or even if it wasn't broken, it would hit top tier very quickly. But I can't do that, so fair enough. But either way, it's still a very fun card to play, and it's a really nice card to look at. So 3 copies. Next up, 3 copies of Drag Ritter Edurus. 5k power, 5k shield, grade 1 with boost. Act rear. If your opponent's rear guard is retired this turn, counterblast 1 to perform one of the following. It either gets plus 10 to end of turn, or put it to soul to choose one of your opponent's grade 2 or greater rear guards and retire it. So either way, you gotta pay a counterblast, but it's not once per turn. So if you pick the 10k one, you can just use it over and over and over again. And the deck doesn't use up that much counterblast. In fact, I think the only card in this deck that uses up counterblast besides this thing is Randor, who no one ever uses except for me, and even then I changed the numbers before I made this deck. And Nigel, I don't know why I keep calling it Nigel, the one that part of the ride chain. So those are the only 2 cards I can think of that also cause counterblast, but otherwise you just spend it all on this guy and then swing with it. Or you can just get another rear guard tower. Either way, he's really helpful for clearing up the field, getting soul, and hitting for bigger numbers. I say 3 of, not 4 of, because I like to run options, I guess. Also, because Shigema Manga was at 2. Next up, we have Twin Buckler Dragon, 6k base, grade 1, boost, 0 shield, standard sentinel ability. You may only have up to 4 sentinels in the deck, and when placed on guard circle, choose one of your units, and it can't be hit on a battle. And if you have 2 or more cards choose in your hand, choose a card from your hand and discard it. I believe today, because the day I'm recording this is the day I did my Ezel and the Vanity, the DSR for Magnolia and Seraph Snow Reveal, which was yesterday, which is the day this uploads was yesterday comparatively. So I believe that day was our first getting a Sentinel restrictor to an extent. We might already have a Sentinel. No, we do have a Sentinel restrictor beside that. Never mind, ignore that comment. None of us have a Sentinel restrictor yet, but I thought we had just got a card that makes them guard more Sentinels, and I remember there was a card no Draco that does the exact same thing, and there might be a card in Token Rambu. So never mind that statement. But either way, 4 copies because Twin Buckler is nice. And also, for some reason, the cheapest of the PGs. Next up, Gunning of Duststorm Nigel. 8k base, 5k shield, grade 1 with boost. Auto when rode upon by a Cataclysmic Bullet of Duststorm Randor, Soul Charge 1. And auto rear guard when your opponent's rear guard is retired during your main phase. Counterblast 1 to retire it. Choose one of your opponent's rear guards and retire it. So normally, just rest this with Eugene, use its skill, kill another rear guard, use this link skill, kill another rear guard, so 2 rear guards die at once. You get an immediate soul charge by just doing the ride line, so that's really helpful. And I just like his background. Like, there are a bunch of dragons flying around him. If the war going on was with him and dragons, I would love that so much because you can just see the background. You can see him fighting for his life to an extent. I love all of that. Crush your enemies when you can. No need for hesitation. Okay, that is a statement that I greatly much disagree with. I agree with it in the sense that if you're fighting an enemy, you shouldn't have hesitation to kill them, especially if they're trying to kill you, but I disagree with that entire point of that statement, but I still like this card. 4 of. Next up, 2 copies of Drag Ritter Nasir, 10k base, 5k shield, grade 2 with intercept. Auto when it intercepts if your opponent has 2 or less rear guards, it gets plus 10k shield for the battle. So the reason why it's at 2, despite the fact being a 15k shield, is 1, it has to intercept, and normally you're kind of, and while you're not necessarily taking up the front with other grade 2 rear guards, I don't like having the chance where it's only a 5k shield still, because it's during the opponent's turn that you have to intercept with this. And what if, for example, they just call more than 2 rear guard, despite the fact you're constantly murdering their stuff? Well, now you can't do anything, because Zorga can get around this just by calling their stuff back and pumping out a field really early. Nirvana can more or less block this depending on how the Nirvana player plays. A lot of Nirvana players are different. I'm different from most Nirvana players. Prison, I feel like, falls to this the easiest. Just going off of what I see. Orphist is a meh depending on what they have on their board. Like, half the decks this works against and half the decks it doesn't, so I like to put it at 2 to where I can use it if I see it, but if I can't use it, at least I'm not breaking into a 5k shield only. So 2 copies. Plus it leaves space for the cards that I can guaranteedly use. Next up, we have Strong Fortress Dragon G-Bar Brancho. 10k power, 5k shield, grade 2 with intercept. Act rear if your vanguard is a heavy artillery of Duststorm Eugene. Soul Blast 1 and rest this unit. Choose one of your opponent's rear guards and retire it. Auto rear at the start of your battle phase. If your opponent has 1 or less rear guards, stand it, and this unit gets plus 5 until end of turn. So I do have a problem with this card, and it's not a big problem. It's just like a personal problem that I have with it. But to go off of what I like of it first, it's a kill rear guard. So automatically, Eugene can kill 1 rear guard. If you combo it with Nigel, you can kill 2. If you combo with Idris, then possibly 3. And then this can kill a 4th one on its own. So basically, you can kill 4 rear guards in one go with having 4 different units, and one of them is guaranteed. So yeah, that's good. Either way, you get 2 rear guards killed as long as one of them's as long as your Vanguard's Eugene. And you can also stand it during the battle phase if they just lost most of their field, so +5, so 15 rear guard. And it's really good for that case because you're not losing attacks. You're still getting more. You're getting less power of it, but you're still getting power out of it, and you're nuking their board. My only problem with this is it restricts it to being the original Eugene, and that is something I always have a problem with because I don't like it where a lot of the cards are focusing on the original card name of the Vanguards, because one of the most things I liked about all of the original Vanguards is that, yeah, most of the time you would just stay on the same Vanguard and then change your Persona Right. It makes it so you're not going to change your Vanguard mid-game, but I want them to make like an evolved version of each Vanguard, like an evolved version of Eugene, an evolved version of Nirvana, especially with Nirvana, because Nirvana just feels like a support card at this point. So like something to make them better and then something to evolve them with, because it gets stale after a while when you're just constantly repeating the same thing, riding with the ride line, and then riding to the grade 3, and then you just stay on the grade 3. Even if you Persona Ride, it gets kind of repetitive and gets kind of boring. So where I hope that they make new ride lines for each deck, like not just for each nation in general, but like each separate deck gets a new ride line, an evolved version of it, making it better, making it fun to play. And my only problem with this, of why I see like it's not going to work, is because they made a bunch of cards that are solely focused on the original names. Like this one focuses on the original Eugene. Wild Intelligence in Order for Magnolia only works if best works if your Vanguard is the original Magnolia. Seraph Snow doesn't have one, I think. Nirvana definitely has one of Arena Urger, and if not, I'm pretty sure the ride line is also as like that as well. Which I'm kind of against this, but at the same time, I want it to be more exciting. Like, I don't think they're going to do it in set 3, and I'd be very disappointed if they did automatically in set 3, but like set 4 or maybe later, they gave us more ride lines, because this is going to be boring and repetitive watching the same thing over and over again. Anyways, on to this. I don't know why. Half of this has just been me talking about my problems with Overdress, and the other half has been me just actually doing the deck profile. Anyways, 2 copies of Cataclysmic Bullet of Duststorm Randor, 10k base, 5k shield, grade 2 with intercept. Auto, when it's rode upon by heavy artillery of Duststorm Eugene, draw a card, choose up to 1 card from your drop, put it to soul, and auto Vanna rear. When it attacks, if your opponent has 2 or less rear guards, counterblast 1, soul charge 1, and it gets plus 5k till end of battle. I like this card. Now, a lot of people running the main deck, most people running the main deck at 1 and then replace it with something else. As much as I more or less agree with that statement, I like having the aggressive firepower he gives, because early rush, if you want to go down another Randor, swing, get a soul charge out of it for later, get plus 5, or say for example you call a grade 1 and a grade 2, you hit with the grade 2, they pull a trigger, you boost with the grade 1, but it's still not enough to hit, you could at least use Randor to get that hit on and a soul charge, which is why I kind of like him. I like that skill. I like to always keep the extra copy around, even nowadays it's just PG fodder, but I still like that. 2 copies if you want to build this deck the smart way. In my personal build, there's 4 of them. And on to grade 3s. 3 copies of Penetrate Dragon Tribash, 13k base, grade 3 Twin Jet Persona Ride, auto rear. When your Vanguard attacks, if your opponent has 2 or less rear guards, put it to soul, choose one of your Vanguards, it gets plus 1 crit for the turn. So many people have had this happen to them, and I am not one of them, thankfully, where you just ride Eugene for like maybe Persona Ride, or maybe you just don't ride Persona Ride, you maybe it's just a normal ride. But on first turn grade 3, I can recall this memory, I called 2 Tribash to the back row, I called 2 rear guards to the front. This was still in set 1, by the way. I just swung with 1 attack. They guarded because they were at 2. I think they were trying to get as most counterblast out of those as possible without dying. Oh wait, no, they were at 1. Never mind. Yeah, they were at 1. I swung, they blocked it. I swung with another rear guard, they blocked it. They were both 5k shields each. Swing with Van, get double crit. They thought they would be fine. Twin drive, crit, all effects to Van. Crit, all effects to Van. Well, I win. It's very simple, and so many people have died to that combo. Tribash is very fun playing. I don't like to run it at 4 just because, like, in the off chance I'm playing against a Nirvana player and they do a quadruple trick star, which is both very questionable, but at the same time more or less very smart, and they just, or in the case like where I don't want to just shove all of them to soul, because it also takes up formation on my rear guard, because I like to get the maximum out of it. So I don't like running it at 4. I like to run it at 3. 3 is a good number for me. It's always fun playing because I see it anyways. And our final normal unit is Heavy Artillery of Duststorm Eugene, the man of the hour, the man of the match. Act Van, once per turn, rest 2 rear guards, choose one of your opponent's rear guards, kill it, plus 10 to Vanguard. Plus 10 to itself until end of turn. Unfortunately, that's not a rear guard skill, but that would be a bit too good if it was a rear guard skill as well. Act Van, once per turn, if your opponent's rear guard was retired this turn, Soul Blast 5, look at the same number of cards on top of your deck as the number of open rear guard circles, choose any number of unit cards from among them, call them to rear, and put the rest into your soul. So you could technically just soul charge 5 off this, but I don't know why you would do that. That would be a big minus comparatively. At that point, at least call something to make sure that wasn't a complete minus. While, yeah, you have to kill an opponent's rear guard that turn, so if they give you nothing to work with, you're not going to get anything out of it. But at least he kills a rear guard and gets plus 10 off it automatically. So I really like that about him. Heavy Artillery of Duststorm Eugene, really nice card, and I like him. And I kind of can't wait for him to become better, because when he gets better, the Hamsuke thing that happened to me before is going to happen, and he's going to go up in price. This time, I was prepared, and I bought him in advance. Suck it, Destiny, just in case Eugene does get expensive as all hell. Next up, 2 copies of Burn Bright Pure Prayers. If you're damaged on 3 or more cards, choose one of your units, and it gets plus 15 to the battle. So our grade 2 order, pretty nice. The only downside to this is I have to be at 3 or more damage, but otherwise, it works out pretty well. So Burn Bright Pure Prayers, nice card for me, because it's just like a trigger guard. And our last main deck card, Sunlight Punishment. Grade 3 order, play this by counterblasting 1 or more cards. Choose one of your opponent's rear guards for each counterblast paid for this cost and retire it. As much as I like that, I do have a question of why is Nirvana on the art? Did they expect Nirvana players to run this? Like, if this was meant for some weird, I'm just bothering about the art because I don't know why Nirvana would be on the art. Like, I get it, Nirvana's a Sunlight Dragon more or less, but why? Like, they could have made it a barrage of bullets or something along those lines, and then just use Eugene in the background shooting bullets at everyone along with Nigel and Randor and do the same exact thing. But why Nirvana? I don't see Nirvana using this, even in set 1 where, like, me personally, I just use most of my counterblast on Nirvana skill and Valiente skill, even though I kind of never played my Valiente deck because I just didn't like Valiente. And I don't know why, it's just, this card does not seem like something a Nirvana player would actually use. I mean, if you're a Nirvana player that plays it, good on you, but I personally don't play this in my Nirvana deck. It feels more like a Eugene card. I don't know why I'm bothering this much about the art, but that's just my point. Either way, you get to kill a rear guard for each counterblast, so if you're running along rear guards, or cards in hand that you can call to rest and use as fodder, just use this. It's a fucking field nuke. If there's like little counterblast paid in set 1, in set 2, there is more, but like when it's between the choice of murdering the board and getting a full field out of it, or using up some of your counterblasts and maybe not getting a full field out of it, I think I'd rather nuke the board and at least put myself in some form of an advantage seat. Sunlight Punishment is a really good card from set 1. Amazing, 2 copies. And that was the deck, so I hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, donate to the Patreon, join the Discord, follow the Twitch, subscribe to my second channel focused on Beyblade, and go check out Thera. And I'll see you all in the next one. Don't forget to stand up your vanguards.